They say blood is thicker than water, but what happens when your own family drains your future dry? I'm Sarah Mitchell, and this is the story of how my mother and sister stole my dreams, wrapped it in a bow of family obligation, and expected me to smile through it all. But I didn't smile. I said just one word that changed everything. And let me tell you, grandmas and ladies, revenge isn't always served cold. Sometimes it's served with a side of legal documents and a whole lot of poetic justice. The setup. It was March 15th, 2024, when my world came crashing down. I was sitting in my childhood bedroom in Columbus, Ohio, surrounded by acceptance letters from 3 prestigious universities: Ohio State, Northwestern, and my dream school, Columbia University in New York City. At 22 years old, I had worked my tail off for this moment. 2 years at community college while working full-time at a local diner, maintaining a 4 GPA, and sacrificing every social event you can imagine. My college fund had been set up by my late grandmother, Patricia Patty Henderson, before she passed away in 2019. Grandma Patty had been a firecracker of a woman, a former school teacher who believed education was the only true inheritance worth leaving. She'd started that fund when I was born, adding to it religiously every birthday and Christmas. By the time she died, she'd made sure it had grown to $127,000. Enough to cover 4 years at a good school, books, and living expenses. I remember her holding my hand on her deathbed at Riverside Hospital, her papery skin cool against mine. "Sarah," she'd whispered, her blue eyes still sharp despite the cancer ravaging her body, "that money is for your education, not for anyone else. Promise me you'll use it to become something extraordinary." I had promised, and I had worked so hard to honor that promise. The betrayal. My mother, Linda Mitchell, asked me to come to the living room that Friday evening. My older sister Vanessa was there too, sitting on the couch with her husband, Derek. Vanessa was 31, 9 years older than me, and had always been the golden child. Prettier, more social, married to a successful real estate agent. Everything she touched seemed to turn to gold, except for one thing. Vanessa had been trying to get pregnant for 6 years. Multiple rounds of IVF had failed, each one more devastating than the last. I'd been supportive, of course. What kind of monster wouldn't be? I'd held her while she cried, sent encouraging texts, and even donated to her GoFundMe campaigns. But nothing prepared me for what came next. Mom sat down in Dad's old recliner. Dad had passed away in 2021 from a heart attack, and the chair remained like a shrine to him. She folded her hands in her lap, that gesture she always made when she was about to say something she knew would hurt. "Sarah, honey," she began, and my stomach immediately knotted. "We need to talk about your college fund." "Okay," I said slowly. "Columbia's tuition is steep, but Grandma Patty's fund should cover most of it. I've already applied for scholarships and—" "That's just it, sweetheart," Mom interrupted, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "The fund, well, it's gone." The room started spinning. "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" Vanessa wouldn't meet my eyes. She was studying her manicured nails like they held the secrets of the universe. "We used it for Vanessa's IVF treatments," Mom said simply, as if she'd just told me she'd borrowed my sweater. "The last round was very expensive and insurance wouldn't cover it. We knew you'd understand. Family helps family." I sat there frozen as the words sank in like stones in deep water. $127,000, my grandmother's legacy, my future, gone. You what?" My voice came out as a whisper. "Now Sarah, don't be dramatic," Mom said, her tone shifting to irritation. "Education is important, yes, but a baby, a grandbaby for me to hold, that's a miracle, that's real life. You can always get student loans. People do it all the time." "Student loans," I repeated, my voice rising. "Do you have any idea how much debt that would put me in? Grandma Patty left that money specifically for me. She made you promise." "Your grandmother was old-fashioned," Vanessa finally spoke, her voice weak and watery. "She didn't understand modern problems. Sarah, I'm your sister, I need this. Derek and I have been trying for so long, and this last treatment, it might actually work this time." "Might," I stood up, my whole body shaking. "You spent my entire college fund on something that might work." "Don't you dare make your sister feel worse than she already does," Mom snapped, standing up too. "She's going through hell and all you can think about is yourself. College will always be there. Her biological clock won't." I looked at Derek, who had the decency to look somewhat ashamed. "Did you know about this?" He cleared his throat. Sarah, I tried to tell them to talk to you first, but you didn't stop it. I finished for him. We're family, Mom said firmly. And family sacrifices for each other. When your father died, did I fall apart? No, I held us together. Vanessa has been there for you your entire life. She babysat you, helped you with homework, drove you to soccer practice. This is your chance to give back. The audacity, the sheer breathtaking audacity of rewriting history. Vanessa had been a decent sister when we were kids, sure, but the moment she got married at 23, I became an afterthought. She'd missed my high school graduation for a spa weekend. She'd forgotten my 21st birthday, and now I was supposed to sacrifice my entire future because she wanted a baby. I stood there looking at the three of them, my mother, my sister, and my brother-in-law, and something inside me calcified into steel. I took a deep breath and said just one word. Lawyers. The aftermath begins. The silence that followed was deafening. What did you just say? Mom asked, her face turning an interesting shade of purple. Lawyers, I repeated calmly, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. That fund was held in a trust. Grandma Patty's lawyer, Mr. Bernard Goldstein, set it up specifically with stipulations. The money was to be used solely for my educational expenses. You needed my signature or a court order to access it. So either you forged my signature, or you somehow convinced a judge that my education wasn't important. Either way, I'm calling a lawyer. I wasn't bluffing. I'd seen the paperwork when Grandma Patty first set up the trust. I was 16 and she'd made sure I understood every detail. The trust was ironclad. You wouldn't dare, Vanessa gasped, her hand flying to her chest dramatically. I'm your sister. And that money was my grandmother's last gift to me, a gift you stole. We didn't steal anything, Mom shouted. I'm the trustee. I had the right to make decisions about that money until you turned 25. For my benefit, I shot back. Not for Vanessa's fertility treatments. That money was earmarked for education, not medical procedures for someone else. Derek stood up. Sarah, let's all calm down here. Maybe we can work something out. We could pay you back over time. With what money? I laughed bitterly. You drive a BMW, Vanessa drives a Mercedes, and you just bought a 4-bedroom house in Upper Arlington. You're not hurting for cash. You wanted mine because it was easier than dipping into your own savings. How dare you? Vanessa was crying now, real tears streaming down her face. I'm suffering and you're talking about money. What kind of person are you? The kind who doesn't let people steal from her and call it love, I said quietly. I walked out of that living room and drove straight to a coffee shop with Wi-Fi. By midnight, I'd drafted an email to Bernard Goldstein, my grandmother's lawyer. By sunrise on March 16th, I had an appointment scheduled for Monday morning. The legal battle. Mr. Goldstein was a 72-year-old Jewish grandfather type with kind eyes and zero tolerance for nonsense. When I walked into his office in downtown Columbus that Monday morning, March 18th, he already had my grandmother's file pulled. Sarah, he said warmly, standing to shake my hand. I was wondering when you'd come to see me. I tried to call you in February, but your mother said you were busy with school. My blood ran cold. Why were you calling? To inform you that your trust fund had been liquidated. He pushed his glasses up his nose and opened the file. Your mother, as trustee, filed paperwork claiming the funds were being redirected for educational purposes, specifically enrollment in a medical training program. She had what appeared to be your signature on the authorization forms. I never signed anything, I said, my voice barely controlled. Mr. Goldstein nodded slowly. I suspected as much. The signature looked off, but your mother was quite convincing, and without you there to contest it, my hands were legally tied at the time. However, now that you're here. Now we sue, I finished. He smiled, not a happy smile but a satisfied one. Now we sue. The investigation. The next few weeks were a blur of depositions, document reviews, and forensic analysis. It turned out that Mom had indeed forged my signature. She traced it from my community college enrollment forms and had convinced a notary who barely glanced at the paperwork to stamp it official. The money had been transferred in January 2024, split between 2 different fertility clinics and a pharmaceutical company for medications. Vanessa had gone through with the IVF treatment in late February, but it had failed. Again, my $127,000 had essentially been flushed down the drain for nothing. When Mr. Goldstein presented our evidence to a judge on April 22, 2024, the case was pretty straightforward. Fraud, forgery, breach of fiduciary duty. The judge, a stern woman named Harriet Blackwell, did not look amused. "Mrs. Mitchell," Judge Blackwell said, peering over her reading glasses at my mother, "you were entrusted with a sacred duty to manage these funds in your daughter's best interest. Instead, you committed fraud to benefit your other daughter. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Mom had hired a lawyer by then, a nervous young man named Tim something or other who kept mopping his forehead with a handkerchief. "Your Honor, my client was under extreme emotional duress. Her daughter was suffering." "Her other daughter was suffering the loss of her future," the judge interrupted. "I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. Mrs. Mitchell, you are hereby ordered to repay the full amount of $127,000 to Sarah Mitchell's educational trust within 90 days, plus legal fees and punitive damages. If you fail to comply, I'll have no choice but to place liens on your property and assets." Mom's face went white. Vanessa, who was sitting beside her, burst into loud, ugly sobs. The fallout. The news spread through our family like wildfire. My mother's sisters, my aunts Patricia and Margaret, were horrified. They'd always known my mom could be manipulative but outright fraud, against her own daughter, using their mother's money. Aunt Patricia called me on April 24th. "Sarah, honey, I am so sorry. If I had known, your grandmother would be rolling in her grave." "She probably is," I said sadly. "What are you going to do now?" "Go to Columbia," I said firmly, "just like Grandma Patty wanted." My mother and Vanessa tried everything to get me to drop the lawsuit. Mom claimed she couldn't possibly repay that much money. Vanessa sent me long, guilt-tripping text messages about how stress was bad for fertility, and I was actively killing her chances of ever becoming a mother. Extended family members I barely knew crawled out of the woodwork to tell me I was being cruel and vindictive. But here's the thing, ladies and grandmas out there listening to this story, standing up for yourself isn't cruel, it's necessary. On May 3, 2024, my mother was forced to take out a second mortgage on her house. Vanessa and Derek had to sell their Mercedes and dip into their retirement funds to help repay their share. By June 15th, my trust fund was fully restored, plus an additional $47,000 in punitive damages and legal fees. The revenge twist. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no, because karma, ladies, has a beautiful sense of irony. In July 2024, Vanessa announced on Facebook that she was pregnant, naturally pregnant. After years of failed IVF, expensive treatments, and my stolen college fund, she'd conceived on her own about 2 weeks after the court ruling. You'd think this would make her happy, right? But Vanessa being Vanessa, she couldn't just accept the blessing. No, she had to make it about me. She posted a long, passive-aggressive status about how some people were so hateful and greedy that they caused unimaginable stress, but that true miracles happen when you least expect them, and real family sticks together. I didn't respond, I didn't need to. Because on August 1st, 2024, I posted my own announcement. I was starting at Columbia University with a full ride. Between my restored trust fund, the punitive damages, and the scholarships I'd earned on my own merit, I had enough money for all 4 years, plus graduate school if I wanted it. The comments were beautiful. Friends from high school, former co-workers, even some distant relatives congratulated me. Aunt Patricia commented with 3 heart emojis, and your Grandma Patty is smiling down on you. My mother and Vanessa unfriended me immediately. Current day. It's now November 2025, and I'm in my 2nd year at Columbia, studying psychology with a minor in family therapy. Ironic, I know. I live in a tiny apartment in Morningside Heights with 2 roommates who have become like sisters to me. Real sisters, the kind who celebrate your success instead of stealing from you. I haven't spoken to my mother or Vanessa in over a year. They've tried to reach out a few times, especially after Vanessa gave birth to a baby boy named Mason in March 2025. Aunt Patricia sends me photos sometimes, and I'll admit, he's a cute kid. But I feel nothing when I look at those pictures except relief that I'm not part of that toxic dynamic anymore. Derek actually reached out to me in September. He apologized genuinely and said he should have stood up to Vanessa and my mother. He offered to pay me back his portion of the money personally, even though he'd already been forced to by the court. I told him I appreciated the gesture but that I didn't need his guilt money. What I needed was distance. Some family members think I'm harsh. They say I should forgive and forget, that Vanessa's baby deserves to know his aunt, that Mom is getting older and I'll regret this rift someday. But here's what I know. Forgiveness doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean pretending theft is okay because we share DNA. My grandmother Patty taught me that I deserved respect, education, and a future. She gave me the tools to build that future, and when someone tried to take it away, I fought back. The lesson. So what's the moral of this story, ladies? It's this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. When someone prioritizes their wants over your needs and calls it love, that's not love, it's manipulation. And when you're faced with the choice between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity, choose dignity every single time. That one word, lawyers, changed the trajectory of my entire life. It gave me my future back. It taught me that I don't have to set myself on fire to keep other people warm, even if those people are family. My mother said, "We used your college fund for your sister's IVF." I said lawyers. And I'd say it again in a heartbeat. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't rage or bitterness. It's success. It's living well. It's honoring the people who truly loved you, like my grandma Patty, and building the life they dreamed for you. I'm at Columbia, I'm thriving. I'm free from people who see me as a resource rather than a person. And honestly, that's the happiest ending I could ask for. Closing. So to all the grandmas out there who have ever sacrificed for their grandchildren's education, thank you. Your legacy matters. Your love echoes through generations. And to anyone who's ever been told to sacrifice their dreams for someone else's comfort, you deserve better. Stand up for yourself. Say that one word that changes everything. Sometimes the best thing you can say to family is no. And sometimes it's lawyers.